Today, we are announcing the Roosevelt Hotel, which served as both our asylum arrival center and the humanitarian emergency response and relief center for nearly 2 years, will be closing in the coming months.
How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about New York City Mayor Eric Adams announcing the end, the closure, the stoppage of the Roosevelt Hotel, the iconic, beautiful, well, once iconic and once beautiful hotel right there in Manhattan. It's over. No more migrants are going to be coming there. Now, for the past 2 years, this place has been used as a migrant intake center. Over the course of 4 years, New York City has seen 230,000 so-called migrants come to and through the city. 230,000 without much federal help at all. This whole experiment, this whole thing cost New York City residents $7 billion with a B, $7 billion US cold hard cash dollars. Now, I was told that the migrants are going to bring work and they're productive and they do jobs Americans don't want to do. Well, if that's the case, then why did they spend $7 billion New York City taxpayer dollars on this in just a 4-year period or less than that? It might have been just 2 years. And why has the government as a whole collective spent $450 billion per year on the migrants if they're so productive? I don't really understand. It doesn't make much sense to me. Now, before I go any further, let's get to the actual news clip. Of course, I will always link to the clip in the box. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit the link in the bio. Go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
This morning, after nearly 2 years in operation, Midtown's Roosevelt Hotel Migrant Intake Center and Emergency Shelter will soon shut down all operations.
That's right. That announcement was made this morning. Mayor Adams says the impending closure will happen in the coming months while praising the city's success in mitigating the migrant crisis.
Let's pause right here. I also read that they're going to close 53 migrant shelters across New York City this year. 2025, 53 shelters in total are going to get closed. So what does that tell you? Well, what it says is what Eric Adams said from the beginning. Policies they push forward in the city and policies happening right at the border. What does that mean? President Trump came in and turned off the migrant spigot. Therefore, there's no more need for all these shelters because the migrants are going to stop coming.
Let's get right to Good Day's Briella Tomasetti. She joins us live from outside that migrant intake center in Midtown with the very latest. Briella, good morning.
Tashani and Kurt, good morning. The Roosevelt Hotel closed its doors during the pandemic, and after that, the city turned it into a migrant intake center. Officials say that function is no longer necessary and that migrants continuing to enter the Big Apple can register elsewhere.
The Roosevelt Hotel, which served as both our asylum arrival center and the humanitarian emergency response and relief center for nearly 2 years, will be closing.
Mayor Adams announced the news in a nearly 2-minute-long video released by City Hall. He says the Roosevelt Hotel will close its doors in the coming months, marking a significant milestone in the city's migrant crisis. The Midtown Manhattan Hotel was transformed into a migrant arrival center in May of 2023.
A beautiful, iconic place destroyed by migrants. Oh, they destroyed it. Please believe it. Because I've been covering this for a long time. And shout out to you guys in New York. I feel so bad for y'all having to deal with this stuff. The migrants, you're coming from places where they don't really have these kind of facilities. Okay, they don't understand like shower curtains. You got to put the curtain inside the shower so the water doesn't splash out and get on the floor and damage not only the floor of the hotel room, but the ceiling of the hotel room right below. And also they were damaging the electrical. They were bringing in pressure cookers and air fryers and all kind of stuff to fix their food every night. They had a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking. It was also a baby mill. You're talking about 3 to 4 babies being born per day. And this picture right here, this is a random freeze frame. How many babies do you count? How many little kids do you count? The birth rate at this particular migrant place was out of this world. It was like a whole world within the world. This was a complete disaster. It should have never happened. It was a scourge upon the citizenry of New York City and also the entire USA. And I'm glad that Trump came in to put it into it, but I'm getting super triggered, so I digress.
And has since processed tens of thousands of migrants each day. But the mayor says that number has now dwindled down to the hundreds.
With the city receiving an average of 4,000 arrivals each week. Now, thanks to our policies, we're down to an average of just 350 new arrivals each week.
The site provided a variety of supportive services, including legal assistance and medical care. For instance, migrants who wanted to connect with family or friends elsewhere were given bus tickets out of the state. Those in need of shelter were assigned to a site and given instructions on how to apply for asylum.
Our administration has skillfully managed this crisis, which has seen over 232,000 migrants enter our city asking for shelter.
According to City Hall, there are currently fewer than 45,000 migrants in the city's care, down from a high of 69,000 in January of 2024. More than 84% of eligible adults in the city's care have applied for work authorization, allowing for the city to close all tent-based shelters by the end of this summer. Several other large sites housing more than 1,000 migrants will also close within that time frame.
We're closing 53 sites within the span of a year.
While City Hall refrained from saying how much it costs to keep the Roosevelt Hotel running.
You already know how much it is. Thousands upon thousands of migrants every week. 232,000 of them in total. Not even in 4 years. It might have been in 2 years or a year and a half, 18 months. You know, this costs millions upon millions of dollars to maintain.
Adams was a major critic of the Biden administration's migrant response and repeatedly called on the federal government for more money. Meanwhile, city attorneys filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration on Friday after FEMA revoked more than $80 million in migrant funding, citing concerns over illegal activities at a hotel. The suit argues that the funds were previously approved and then paid out by FEMA, only to be removed from a city bank account on February 11th without notice. And more numbers out of City Hall this morning. Officials say that the city has purchased more than 53,000 tickets to help migrants reach their preferred destinations, and that staffers have conducted more than 873,000 case management sessions. For now, though, we're live here in Midtown. Kurt and Dashani back.
So there we go. The Roosevelt Hotel is closed for business. No more migrants, no more migrant intake. No more so-called asylum seekers, refugees, all this kind of stuff. Really, you're talking about economic migrants, people coming over here to get money, whether it be straight up for quote unquote free. Not for you guys who live in New York City. You guys are getting hit with the tax bill, but they get things for free on your dime, or they might try to go work somewhere and just get the money and send it right back to the country of origin, where that money is worth a lot more than it is right here in the USA. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to President Trump for closing the border. Shout out to Eric Adams for closing these so-called migrant intake centers, shelters, or whatever. It got so bad in New York City, they were building brand new buildings just for the migrants, like a whole building, like a tower built for the migrants, not for the homeless veterans who might be on the street, not for regular everyday New Yorkers struggling to make a living, working for a living. No, for the migrants. It was just for them. This whole thing, this experiment was complete madness. And again, I'm glad that it has come to an end. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about the Roosevelt Hotel finally closing the doors for the so-called migrants? Good thing, bad thing? Are they going to be able to revitalize this? Because the migrants beat that hotel down to submission. I mean, really, at a certain point, even if the migrant spigot didn't get turned off at the border, the hotel might have to close anyway because it's been so damaged. I mean, at a certain point, you're talking about a fire hazard, a lot of crime, violence. I can imagine the infestation. It's already New York City. You already got the rats the size of little wombats and whatnot. Okay, you got rats the size of Heathcliff the cat. You got rats the size of the big red dog. Okay, you got rats that size in New York City. I can imagine what kind of super mutant vermin that some of these migrants have brought with them, or that the migrants allowed to infest when they tear these rooms up with all coronas everywhere. Okay, drugs everywhere. Okay, baby diapers all over the place. It's a whole big mess. I'm glad that this has come to an end, but whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.